Hey guys, it's Dr. May. How's it going? All right, so today I'm doing something which has an unusual title, as you've noticed. It's called the Prostitute Archetype. Okay, so don't let yourself be thrown by either word. Okay, so it's not about how to become a prostitute, it's not about how to get a prostitute. So if that's why you came, you probably should shut the video off right now. Okay, I learned about this a year or two ago, and it blew my mind, and it reminded me of myself and people I know, and I really feel like it's an important concept to be aware of because it's really the opposite of self-respect. And if you ever saw my fast video for DBT, or you learned about the fast skill in DBT, that's about how to build self-respect. So if you're involved in this prostitute archetype, you definitely need the fast skill. Okay, so see if you could recognize anything that seems familiar here. This is something that's considered like a universal pattern or archetype that we all do from time to time because it's related to our survival, okay? Our physical and emotional survival. So think about what an actual prostitute does, right? So a prostitute, the way we normally think of it, is a woman, usually a woman, although sometimes a male, that sells her body for sex. So she exchanges something very personal, something that's very private, something that's very intimate in order to make money or get drugs or get some kind of exchange, okay? And in doing so, we usually think, well, wow, you know, that person really gave up something that's like kind of private, like self-respect in order to do that, you know? And we may not necessarily do that in that manner, but we do it in other ways, okay? So I wanna let us be clear about the ways that it's possible for us to do this in other forms, okay? So in general, the prostitute archetype is like selling your soul to the devil, so to speak. It's like the part of you that says, I'll do anything if you just give me blank, okay? And the anything is usually some form of sacrificing your self-respect. It's doing something that you're not proud of, that doesn't feel good, that is against what your intuition is telling you, that's against, you know, what you normally would feel is right, because you're so desperate to get something, okay? So think about that, right? What's a time in your life, past or present, when you felt that way? When you felt like the only way I'm gonna get my needs met is if I, you know, betray myself in some way, right? And how did you feel when you did that? You know, did it feel good or did it feel not so good? My guess is it probably didn't feel so great. And if you do this a lot, it's going to compound a lot of inner dis-ease and bad feelings, and it might even lead you to engage in target behaviors or other, you know, painful issues. Like it might compound on top of this. So it's important to recognize this pattern so that we could start to work to undo it. And I'll talk about some ways to do that later, okay? So just to, you know, flesh it out a little bit more. So when you're acting as a prostitute, quote unquote, there's things that you sacrifice, right? So when it says, I will do anything if you just give me, this is the anything, all right? So you might sacrifice your personal power, you know, your ability to make good choices and decisions and to do something that feels right to you. That might just go right out the window. You might give up certain things that are important to you in terms of your values. You know, you might, if you're normally an honest person, you might lie for somebody. Or if you normally value loyalty, you might be disloyal to someone, right? You might give up something that's really important to you in order to desperately get your need met. You might also give up some important aspects of your interest and self-expression and who you are because maybe it's not accepted in that situation. And so you have to squash an important part of yourself, right? So let's say, you know, there's a talent you have, or there's friends you have, or there's a job you really like. You might have to put that aside in order to get your needs met. And you may not feel good about having to do it. And a deep level, you might just sacrifice your mind, body, heart, and spirit. I think of a real prostitute. She's sacrificing her body. You know, you might sacrifice your body in a relationship where you don't particularly like how you're being treated by that person. Or if it's a sexual harassment situation, you might desperately allow that to happen because you're just trying to get by in that job and you're sacrificing all these deep, important parts of yourself. It's sort of like because of your desperate need for survival, you're allowing yourself to be invalidated, you know, and it's really painful because invalidation just fuels our emotions and fuels our distress. Yeah, and also, you know, sacrifice your relationships, your dignity, loyalty to people, you know, and think about how you feel when you do that. You know, doing all this stuff could really eat away at you. You know, it really doesn't feel good at a deep level. So really important to look at this, okay? Because this could be contributing to some of the, you know, the stress and the unhappiness you might have, okay? And so what are we selling out for? I will do anything in exchange for ... Okay, so this is what we're exchanging for potentially. So it might be physical survival or perhaps emotional survival, like keeping someone's love around or someone's admiration or somebody's respect. Maybe not the great version of respect, but you know what I'm saying? Like trying to keep somebody in your life that you feel is necessary. So you sell yourself out in order to keep that. And, you know, so it might start out the relationship was good. Maybe it was 90% good and 10% bad, but then it switched and now it's 10% good and 90% bad. And you're selling yourself out to keep that 10% of good still alive. You know, sometimes relationships flip that way and you feel like you're selling yourself out just to keep it going because you're so afraid of being alone, right? That's one version of that. You might sell out for financial and material gain, such as doing crazy, desperate things to keep a job, or to keep yourself in a relationship because your partner's making a lot of money and you don't know if you could survive without that person. So you might allow yourself to be treated poorly in order to keep financial stability and not be out on the streets, right? If you have an addiction, you probably have done prostitute-like behavior for an addiction, you know? In addition to actually being a prostitute or selling sex for money, which a lot of folks have done, you might have stolen from people or, you know, done dishonest things to desperately get the money you need in order to buy the drugs that you were craving, right? Or engage in other kinds of behavior that were against your morals or values, right? So emotional relationship security, I kind of covered that a little before, or success or achievement, right? What about Lance Armstrong, the biker who took steroids and, you know, just to win the race, right? That couldn't have felt good because you're lying to everybody, right? If you have to cheat and do dishonest things just to achieve, you know, you're selling out your integrity. You're selling out your own sense of honesty, right? How could you truly feel good about yourself if you know you're the one who cheated, right? So not so self-respect worthy here, right? Okay, so how do we turn it around? Okay, so the main thing in a nutshell is to listen to your inner voice. Be true to who you are. Be aware of what it means to be you, what your values are, what's important to you, and listen to that and make that happen. Make it translate into your actions. Even if you have to sacrifice other things in your life that you're trying desperately to get, it's still worth keeping your integrity because in the end, it's not going to really feel worth it for you. Okay. And I like this quote that I found. So be bold enough to use your voice, brave enough to listen to your heart, and strong enough to live the life you imagine, right? So if you feel pangs of your conscience talking to you because something doesn't feel right, you might not be living with your integrity, right? You might be sacrificing it in a prostitute archetype type of a way. So we have to tune in and listen to that feeling we get when we're kind of selling our soul, right? All right. So just a quick review of the FAST skill. This is from DBT about building self-respect. So it's an important interpersonal effectiveness skill. And this is definitely counter to what it means to have a prostitute archetype. So being fair to yourself, right? Honoring yourself and what it means to be you. Not apologizing for just being a human being and having flaws and making mistakes, just being imperfect and being okay with it. Sticking to your values, like I was saying before, and being truthful, not allowing yourself to tell lies for somebody else just to get certain needs met. Okay, there's definitely always another route to take that can allow you to meet your needs in a more honest way. And finally, you know, just think about reclaiming your personal power. I love this picture of this girl, right? She looks like, you know, she's just so innocent and empowered and just girl power, and it's great, right? So take your power back. Don't sacrifice it and hand it over to somebody that could just dangle you by a little string, okay? Live with integrity, courage, and strength, okay? Trust yourself and your gut feelings when things aren't right. Stand up for what you believe in terms of your values and other things. And of course, again, follow your heart and intuition, right? And in the end, you'll be more happy with your decision rather than regretting a decision. All right. So I know this was a bit short, but it's important, right? So think about it, take it in, try to think of when have I been taking on this prostitute archetype, and how could I start to turn it around so I could live a life with more self-respect. Okay, guys? All right. Well, good luck, and see you soon. All right, bye.